Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the IRS collects nearly all federal revenue, and that means that behind every road we build, every Social Security check that we pay is the IRS, making sure that everyone pays what the law says they owe. No politics. But Donald Trump has a different idea. He wants to use the IRS to punish his enemies. On May 2nd, Trump said, quote, "We are going to be taking away Harvard's tax-exempt status." Harvard wouldn't cave in to other demands Trump made, so Trump said he would hurt them using the IRS. Now, this is about more than Harvard. It is a threat to anyone who might displease the president, including the people or organizations that can't afford to have expensive legal battle if Trump sets the IRS on them. So, Mr. Long, when you and I met, I asked you whether it was illegal for the president to tell the IRS to revoke a taxpayer's nonprofit status. And you said in our meeting that you weren't sure, but you would take a look and consult with lawyers. I sent you the statute. You've had 3 weeks to talk to the lawyers about it. So let's jump in. Mr. Long, is it illegal for the president to direct the IRS to revoke a taxpayer's nonprofit status?
In the first place, he wouldn't do that. He's not going to come to me and say that. That's not my question, Mr. Long. Please don't start down this. Are we on section 7212 or 7217?
I'm at 26 U.S.C. 7217. Do I need to read it to you?
Prohibits any member of the executive branch to request the IRS to conduct or terminate an audit on a taxpayer.
All righty. So is it illegal?
I'm going to follow the law, and if that's the law, yes.
Okay, but I want you, that is the law.
Yeah.
So I just want to be clear. Is it illegal for the President of the United States to instruct the IRS to remove a taxpayer's nonprofit status?
Prohibits any member of the executive branch to request the IRS to conduct or terminate an audit of the taxpayer.
Right. Is that a yes?
I'd have to go to the lawyers at the IRS to tell me.
No, come on. You just read it.
I know, but I don't see the instance that you're speaking about in there. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see.
Look, it says it shall be unlawful for any applicable person, which in this case includes the president, to request directly or indirectly any officer or employee of the Internal Revenue Service to conduct or terminate an audit or other investigation of any particular taxpayer. Is it illegal for the president to instruct the IRS to remove nonprofit status from a taxpayer?
I'm not going to have the answer that you need, and I apologize, but like I said,
why are you not having the answer? You've had 3 weeks to consult with lawyers. The statute is about as clear as plain English.
Well, if I say I'm going to follow the law, why would you need to ask me the question?
Well, because I want to make sure that you understand what the law says. If you think follow the law means you just get to make it up on the spot, then, Bud, you don't get to be the IRS commissioner.
I said I would.
The point here is to follow the law as it is written. And I'm asking what I think is a pretty simple question. Can the President of the United States legally tell the IRS to change someone's nonprofit status?
I'm not able to answer.
You can't read these words and tell what those words say?
I can read the statute, and I did.
All right, then tell me what they mean. What does it mean to say that a person, an applicable person here, that's the president, right?
Yes.
All right. Cannot directly or indirectly, right, tell any officer or employee, that would be you, of the Internal Revenue Service to conduct or terminate an audit or other investigation of any particular taxpayer. What part do you not understand here?
It seems to be a nonprofit. I don't see exactly what it refers to.
Any taxpayer. to start an investigation of any taxpayer.
If it's illegal, I'm not going to allow it to happen in my IRS.
Is it illegal? That's the question.
Me and you will be friends
sure
then. I want to be your friend anyway, but we will be on the same page. I'm going to follow the law, and if that's point blank the law.
What do you understand the law to be saying about the president telling the IRS in his dealings with any particular taxpayer? What do you understand this law to be saying?
I think it sounds like it's saying what you're saying, but I've got a little bit of the section here, and I looked at it. I talked to an attorney that used to be at the IRS and now going to maybe be back at the IRS, and I'm sorry if I don't have the answer.
What, you mean the lawyers told you they couldn't understand this?
The what?
The lawyers told you they couldn't understand this?
I didn't say that.
Well, then tell me, what part do you not understand? It says no person, and you've said that's the president, that includes the president, cannot instruct any officer, that would be you, of the IRS to conduct or to terminate an audit or other investigation for any particular taxpayer.
I don't intend to let anybody direct me to start audit for political reasons or any other type of reason.
Does that include the President of the United States?
That's anyone.
Can you say yes, that the President of the United States cannot tell the IRS what to do?
I can tell them they're not going to tell me what to do. I can't speak for if there's other agents at the IRS that you're talking about, but I'm telling you what I don't want to have happen in my IRS.
You know, Mr. Long, you'd have a lot more credibility if you just say yes. It's clear that the statute makes it illegal for the president to direct the IRS vis-a-vis any particular taxpayer. And the fact that you want to sit there and dance around about this tells me that you shouldn't be within 1,000 miles of the directorship of the IRS.
Senator Wyden.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and colleagues, let me just stipulate for purposes of this morning that this witness is a very entertaining individual. That's not what is at issue this morning. What's at issue are the facts, and that's what I want to go through with you, Mr. Long. After leaving the Congress, you made $65,000 referring your friends to tax promoters who claimed that they acquired income tax credits issued to a Native American tribe and then sold these credits to investors. There's a problem. The IRS said in March that the credits do not exist. They're fake. They are a scam. Now you're asking to be put in charge of the IRS, and the IRS confirms that these aren't real. Tell the committee, do you believe these so-called tribal tax credits actually exist?
Thank you for the question. My only involvement in this matter, like I've said numerous times in the written correspondences back and forth with members of the committee, was to connect interested friends of mine, not robocall, not paying kids $25 an hour to call, but just friends. If they had any interest, then I would say, do you want to get on a Zoom? And I was never on the Zoom.
That's not my question. My question is,
I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Do you believe that these so-called tribal tax credits actually exist? That's yes or no.
I do. I can't answer yes or no because I do not know. I think the jury's still out on that. I know since 2022 they've been accepting them, so now they claim that they're not and they haven't been. So I think that all this is going to play out, and I want to have it investigated just as you do. I know you're very interested in this subject. I am too.
Well, I released a recording of an investor call on the scheme last week. One person on the call said they had sold $20 million worth of credits and they'd all been rejected by the IRS. So can you name a single Native American tribe that you or any other promoter acquired these tribal tax credits from?
I worked through Capital Edge Strategies. I didn't work through, I've never talked to anybody at White River. I don't even know anybody at White River, and I don't have any way to know who the tribe is even.
Well, most of your experience with tax involves selling tax shelters that don't exist for a Native American tribe that you can't name, and that's what I'm troubled by. So let's go now to the question of pay to play. In the past year, you made $65,000 referring clients to promoters of what appears to be this fraudulent tribal tax credit. The President announced your nomination on December 4th. Within a matter of weeks, that same tribal tax creditor group of promoters contributed $165,000 to your old campaign, even though you left office years ago. You then transferred the money from the campaign to your pocket. After you were nominated to be IRS commissioner, who did you talk with to solicit those $165,000 in donations?
You know as well as I do that anytime you're dealing with the FEC, you have to follow FEC guidelines, and that's exactly what I did all the way through.
I want to know who you talked with.
And you have to report these things, and it comes out exactly. If I thought something was wrong with it, I sure wouldn't.
Congressman, money doesn't just fall out of the sky. You had to talk to somebody. So who did you talk to about the $165,000? And if it's relevant, did
everyone
you
that I talked to and everyone that I dealt with or didn't talk to was FEC compliant, sir.
Can we get a list of those you talked to?
I gave it all to I gave everything to the FEC. So the FEC, everything we did was compliant with their regulations.
So you just expect us to believe that the money just fell out of the sky and it showed up in your campaign treasury? I just find that a little bit implausible. And let's go on to the next one, promoting the employee retention tax credit. We talked about your experience selling tribal tax credits, this gimmick. Now let's talk about your other tax experience. Since 2023, you've been paid as a referral agent for employee retention tax credit promoters. You stated on a YouTube video that everybody qualifies for the employee retention tax credit, and you urged listeners to ignore CPAs who said they didn't qualify. Do you really think everybody qualifies?
If you listen to that video, I hate to correct you, but I didn't say everyone qualifies. I said virtually everyone qualifies, meaning that most people, virtually is in there. I listened to it the other day to make sure.
So basically, overwhelmingly everybody qualifies. You want to quibble about it? I think this is wrong, and that's what I'm troubled by.
You voted for it. I voted for it. We did it.
I voted for it when we all, during the heart of the COVID period, were trying to take employers and employees and get them some help. This problem, which we learned about from the commissioner, took place after COVID receded, and that's why we're so troubled by the fraud. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section there around cybersecurity and other issues. Next in line is Senator Langford.
Chairman, thank you. Mr. Warfel, good to see you again. We got to meet each other when you first dove into the IRS, deep into the pool, right after the Lois Lerner hole experience that happened, where the IRS was using the power of the IRS to be able to slow down or silence conservative voices on that. Obviously, there was a transition in leadership at that time, and you walked into the middle of all that to be able to clean that up. So you're walking into another set of challenges as well. Obviously, the IRS has a record amount of dollars that are being thrown at it at a very rapid time period. We're waiting to get a plan that not only we can see on how it's going to be done, but the American people can also see how that money is going to be spent. There were some very specific statements that were made early on how that money would be spent. They wouldn't affect anyone with $400,000 or less, but that actually wasn't put in the statute to require that. And so there'll be a lot of questions of how that money will actually be spent, what that looks like. ProPublica, a year and a half ago, released taxpayer returns, put them out publicly, which, by the way, is a violation of federal law to print someone's tax returns, but that apparently no one's been prosecuted for printing it and releasing it, and no one's been prosecuted for actually leaking it, and we haven't been able to get information on how it actually got leaked. So that's out there. And then there's also, you've got a record number of people eligible for retirement. So you thought you were in the fire last time. You walked in IRS, you've got a lot that's on your plate this time. Let me ask you a couple quick questions. The 1099 that Ranking Member Crapo has already brought up as well. This particular one is interesting to me. Part of the American Rescue Plan and part of rescuing America, apparently by my Democratic colleagues, was getting information about my Venmo transactions with my daughter to the IRS. So my daughter she's a great lady. Occasionally she'll run to the store and we'll buy something and we'll bring it home, and I will tell her, will you grab that at the store and I will Venmo you to pay for that. I am quite confident that will exceed $600 over the course of a year of random things like that with our family. Those records are now going to go to the IRS because of the American Rescue Plan. Part of rescuing America is getting that. The IRS was supposed to start collecting those last year and requiring third-party organizations to do it. They delayed it out and said now it'll be this year. What's your best guess on how the IRS is going to have to manage what is actually taxable in that and what is just tracking the information of me paying my daughter back for groceries in her household?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'm familiar with the issue in terms of how it's been reported publicly. I think when I reflect on these issues that emerge during the filing season and the IRS then pulls back and says, we have to study this, I would imagine it's because they're getting a lot of feedback that whatever is going on right now is unsustainable. So we need to take a moment and reset. As I mentioned earlier, one of my objectives would be to prevent that from ever happening so that we're prepared going into each filing season and we mitigate the risk of that happening. But you raise a really important question about how does the IRS balance all these factors? Is it the right approach to be asking for information? I go back to the Taxpayer Bill of Rights.
Right.
Paperwork burden, intrusion. What is the right balance? And I'll start with the law. What does the law expect us to do? And then to the extent there's discretion in the law to make sure that we're taking all the right reasonable steps, I want to move there. And then I want to be transparent with the committee. This is what we think. This is the tensions that we're seeing, and we want that feedback. And if it comes to be that we see that there's opportunities for certain personal transactions to not be included, let's talk about doing that as well. So I'm open to a lot of different options. The bottom line is, as always, what will build trust with the taxpayers?
Well, I think a lot of taxpayers are going to be shocked that part of the American Rescue Plan was over the course of a year, if you do $600 in Venmo transactions, you're now going to have to report that to the IRS. I think that's going to be pretty shocking to a lot of folks in the days ahead, and there'll be a lot of technicalities and issues. This customer service issues also come up. I've seen some recent press releases and quite frankly, some crowing from the IRS about our customer service percentage numbers are so much better of answered calls and such. And so I actually went and pulled the facts on the percentage calls on it. And I have to tell you, I was a little surprised on it because the way the percentage works on it is last year there were 9.2 million people that attempted a call and only 3.7 million actually got an answer. So then the crowing was about the percentage is so much better this year. There were 5.6 million attempts to call and 3.5 million calls. We actually answered fewer calls last year than the year before. We just had fewer people try to call. So the announcement was about, gosh, we're doing so much better, the percentage is better. It's just because people didn't call anymore, we're actually returning fewer calls. So this issue we're going to have a lot of dialogue about how to improve customer service and what that's going to look like. You don't have time to be able to go into all the details now, but just know we're going to have a lot of dialogue about this in the days ahead. So,
yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Werfel.
Thank you, Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member Wyden, for this hearing. Welcome, Mr. Long. Just on that issue of IT modernization, you know, the IRS has a long-term IT modernization plan. There is some congressional funding available to help push it forward, and I hope you will look at that plan, because I think we need to implement it much more rapidly than they are, but there is a plan in place, and I just wanted to make you aware of that. Mr. Long, if you're directed by the president to take an action that would violate the law, would you follow the president's directive or follow the law?
I didn't catch the first of it, but follow the law, definitely.
Thank you for being clear on that. I also want to understand how you would improve taxpayer service for Granite Staters if you are confirmed to lead the IRS. My constituents continue to face many unacceptable issues in dealing with the IRS, including significant delays in receiving their refunds and having their tax returns processed. If confirmed, how will you speed up delivery of tax refunds?
I mentioned in my opening that I think in your office too, I saw a lot of it, and thank you because a lot of you took time to visit with me in your office. But I think that we have to listen to the people in these regional offices. Charles Rossetti, who I kind of want to pattern myself after, was big on getting out to these offices. Every time I'm in D.C., every day I'm in D.C., I'm going to be there 90 minutes early to listen to the people and decide how we can. The only two people I don't care about, Billy Long is not important today. Billy Long's not in this equation. What I care about is the taxpayer partners that I will have if I'm confirmed at the IRS and the taxpayers. And I mentioned that I don't want either one of those to be afraid of the other one to come in and to work with.
I understand that, but look, I asked you a very specific question.
I'm sorry, I didn't
about
pick
how
it up
you
then.
will speed up delivery of tax funds, and there weren't any specifics in your answer. While Granite Staters have struggled with delays receiving their refunds, the administration has cut the number of employees in the New Hampshire office of the Taxpayer Advocate Service, which helps taxpayers who are struggling with the IRS. This has significantly increased wait times for tax assistance. So since the administration has come in, since the administration has cut that number of critical employees who help taxpayers navigate the IRS, in New Hampshire, the wait times are worse. So if you're confirmed, will you commit to reversing the cuts to the New Hampshire office of the Taxpayer Advocate Service, cuts which have increased wait times for Granite Staters who need assistance?
I'm loyal to a fault, and I'm going to be loyal to the taxpayer partners and to the employee partners and to the taxpayers. So if it's within my power, I'm going to advocate for those people, just like if it's my family.
Right, but some of these people have already been cut, they've been let go, and it has meant that the customer service at the IRS in New Hampshire is worse today than it was several months ago.
I don't think having worse customer service is acceptable. I'm
No,
sorry.
it's not, and it takes people to provide customer service. And so, especially nuanced customer service, we spend a lot of time in my office. We have a constituent service unit, and we spend a lot of time on a variety of issues, and I can tell you that we are getting more and more calls from taxpayers who can't get an answer from the IRS, can't get somebody on the phone in the IRS, and are seeing significant delays in getting their refunds. Now, I want to turn to another question. I'd like to follow up on my colleagues' questions related to how this year you used new funds donated to your defunct Senate campaign to repay yourself for a personal loan. Around the time of your nomination to this position, you took in $165,000 in donations to your 2022 campaign fund, and then used these funds to pay yourself $130,000 to retire the remaining balance of a loan that you had made to your campaign. Meanwhile, you only had received about $36,000 in donations in the prior 2 years. These donations, which benefited your personal finances, seem to have been motivated by your nomination to lead the Internal Revenue Service. Did you at any time make your donors aware of your plans to use their donations to pay back a personal loan that you made to your campaign? Or do you have any knowledge that your donors were aware that you intended to use their donations to repay a personal loan?
Everything I think you know exactly how campaign debt is handled, and everything that I did was compliant with the federal
But that, of course, is not what I'm asking you, sir. This is a real question about whether people made donations to your personal financial benefit after you became the nominee because they were hoping that they'd have more influence with you as that leader of IRS. And that's what's at issue here. That goes to the questions that Senator Cortez Masto was asking about your conflicts of interest, and the ranking member were as well.
Everything that I signed with OGE, with the career employees over there, dictates whether I can have anything to do with anyone like that. So
I appreciate that, but I wish I were getting a more direct answer, and I hope very much you'll restore those positions in New Hampshire. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Bennett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Congressman Long, for being here. You're going to be the most important tax person in this administration, and I was curious about whether you were aware that yesterday the 30-year bond actually touched 5% interest rate.
yes,
And why do you think that was?
I didn't follow it, but I heard about it, yeah.
Do you think it might have had to do with the fact that Moody's stripped the United States of our AAA rating last Friday?
I'm not aware, I know.
Are you worried, Congressman Long, that Moody's stripped the United
Yeah,
States
sure,
of
I
our
was aware of that, yeah.
Why are you, not are you just aware of it, are you worried about that?
When I got into Congress in 2011, our national debt was $14 trillion. I voted against every spending I could. Now it's 37. I think that the spending that people do here in Congress has a lot to do with why people are very concerned about our rating.
I would agree with that, because I think 1.1 out of $7 that we spend is now on interest. Would you agree that that's true?
Yes.
And that we're spending more now as a country on interest than we are on defense. That's before the yesterday's Sell America trade, as it was called, that lifted bond rate interest rates to 5%. Would you agree? That's tied to our deficit. You just mentioned it. You just mentioned how much it's increased. It's at $29 trillion today. How much more is that than when Donald Trump enacted his tax cuts in 2017?
2017, I don't have any recollection.
That's twice. Would it surprise you to know that it's twice as much as it was when he enacted his tax cuts in 2017? That our deficit is now twice as much as it was, probably 3 times it was when you joined the Congress to begin with?
I don't have any independent recollection of that, so I'm sure if you've got the figures, I'll go with your judgment.
Okay, well, that is, Congressman Long, what the facts tell us, and for the reasons that we were just talking about, our interest expense is only going up and up and up. Would you agree that as it goes up, that makes our deficit even worse than it already is?
As what goes up, I'm sorry?
The interest rates that we have to pay because this country is being downgraded because of the fiscal irresponsibility, you said, of Congress. I would say of an administration that is adding $3 trillion to our debt when we are not in a recession, because, among other things, they want to give tax cuts to the wealthiest people in America. What do you say to people is that fair to people in Missouri that they should have to?
Like I said, I fought all the spending for the 12 years I was here, and it fell on deaf ears. People don't want to cut you, don't want to cut me, cut the little guy behind the tree. And that's I mean, whether you're conservative or liberal, everybody says they want to do something about waste, fraud, and abuse, about spending.
What do we owe? You're the most important tax person in America now if you get this job. And you have that view of our deficits, which I know you've said that you do. What would you say to an administration that's now adding $3 trillion of debt, and where our credit rating has now lost its the last AAA rating that the United States of America had, that people in Missouri are counting on, people in Colorado are counting on, that we've now lost that AAA rating, and we're still going to spend like drunken sailors on your watch? What do you say to people at home about that?
Well, the same thing that I said for 12 years here in Congress. We have to get it under control. I'm not in the Congress anymore. I can't vote on.
But do you see, is there any evidence is the most important? I mean, do you understand math? You're a smart person. They haven't passed the bill yet in the House that's going to add another $3 trillion on top of the $30 trillion that's already here. Why isn't your message to them, don't do it?
What? I can't hear.
Why isn't your message to them, don't do it? Don't add any more debt to the people in Missouri.
I think we need to start paying down our debt. And I've said that for 12 years. And you're here, you're able to.
What are you going to say to the American people when you leave this administration and the debt is far worse today far worse when you're leaving than it is today?
We're going to have a lot of conversations with a lot of folks, with you and other people in Congress and the White House, and try and all work in the same direction.
I know I'm at an end, Mr. Chairman, but let me just say, I want the market to reflect that we are having this conversation 3 days after we lost the AAA rating of the debt of the United States, and a day after interest rate, the 30-year bond touched 5%. As a result of the fiscal irresponsibility of this administration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.